Greetings, and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast where a group of friends get together to have a beer and discuss our favorite RPGs. Tonight we have a special review episode on Diablo 3 Eternal Collection, which releases, or has released depending on when you're listening, November 2nd for the Nintendo Switch. For the past week, myself along with three gentlemen have been up late at night beating on zombies and impaling demons as we make our way through Sanctuary. I am your host David Lloyd, and with me this evening is co-host of the Talk Nintendo podcast and Diablo devotee, Mr. KC Gibson.
Howdy ho, I'm super excited to talk one of my favorite game franchises of all time.
And we also have another Diablo fan, new Thirsty Mage regular, Mr. Jordan Rudick.
Hi David, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Have you slept much lately?
Oh, no, I've been having nightmares about jumping back into Diablo, put another 20 hours in after the review.
Did you just go to bed at night with your fingers like phantom pressing buttons or what?
You know what? I actually played mostly docked mode, and I tried to take breaks by not bringing the Switch into bed with me. And I think that's helped me maintain my sanity. So.
And finally, we have a fellow Diablo noob like myself, the owner and reviews editor of Nintendo World Report, Mr. Neil Ronahan.
Hey, so I have a witch doctor, and I can shoot plague bats out of my fingertips. I can make a giant toad come out of the ground and eat people, and then I have a big zombie that comes out and goes and messes stuff up. This game's cool. I haven't played Diablo in like 15-20 years, so this has been a lot of fun.
That's been a lot of fun for me. It's first time ever playing a Diablo game, so starting off on number 3.
You'll have to work your way backwards.
Going back to number 1 would be rough.
Yeah, that's what, like, I was looking into a little bit of the history before we even got the review copies in, and I was like, oh, they made so many quality of life features in Diablo 3 that, like, once I start playing this, I don't think I can ever go back.
There was some sort of event where they redid, I don't know if it was the entire first game, but like a big portion of the first game within Diablo 3, but I think it was a timed event, and it might come back. I don't know the exact deets to it, but
yeah, I remember hearing about that too, Casey. I was probably moved on from the PC version by that time. I only played it kind of right around the launch, but yeah, I heard about that too. That almost got me back in, just because I was really fond memories of playing the first game. But yeah, hopefully they'll bring that back, or we'll hear about it again sometime.
Yeah, I did just a quick look on it, and I'm pretty sure it was like a timed event. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, maybe they'll bust it out again for the Switch version. That'd be pretty cool, because Diablo 1's pretty great in its own right too.
Mm-hmm. And BlizzCon's right around the corner. I think it might be next week or something like that. So I think
it's literally this week.
Is that right? Yeah. So we might.
Yeah. So it's the weekend Diablo 3 comes out on Switch.
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh, that's cool. Well, hopefully we'll hear something about the Switch version or whatever's happened with Diablo. I don't
know if they have any, because there was a press event that I went to a couple weeks ago, and talking to a PR rep from Blizzard. I guess Activision Blizzard, is that the name of the company right now? I don't know. A Diablo PR rep made a comment to me about with BlizzCon that, like, I don't think there's going to be any major news. That doesn't mean there will be no news, like, because there's been some amiibo chatter.
Yeah.
As we record.
I saw that today too. Yeah.
I haven't bought an amiibo in a long time, but that could easily change.
We're gonna suck you right back in, Casey.
I do like about what they're doing at BlizzCon with Diablo 3 on Switch is they are going to have a Diab Lounge.
I like it.
No?
I like it.
No? Yeah.
What does that mean, Neil?
Like,
what's happening in the Diab Lounge? It's a cool name.
People bringing their Switches and playing Diablo together.
Nice.
In like an area during BlizzCon. I could totally see myself going to PAX South or East, which I will be going to both and like sitting down and be like, yo, where the Diablo at?
Yeah, that's a neat feature that unfortunately I don't think any of us got a chance to try is the local wireless play. Apparently it's just as seamless as the online or all the things that we've been doing. So hopefully get a chance to try that at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe before we get too deep into the talks for Diablo 3, we'll just do our traditional, if anyone's actually drinking.
I am on brand right now. I am drinking a beer called Devil's Reach.
Nice.
It is from Cape May Brewing, which they're in South Jersey. It's a very, very good Belgian styled ale. But I didn't even plan this. I was just like, oh, I'll grab a beer, and I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, I'm pretty on brand too for myself here with the nice icy cold water. Keep me company on this late evening Monday night.
Yeah, we'll go 3 for 3 or 4 for 4, I suppose, in terms of being on brand. I'm not drinking any alcohol again tonight, but I am drinking some guava juice. So another fruity beverage for me this week.
Well, as usual, Neil, I think you and I are the only ones that are paying for the bartender's kids' college fund. So
yeah, you guys better tip well.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
I'm drinking the last of my Benedicter Weissbier. I'm trying to.
Ooh.
It's the end of October. I'm getting my German beer out of the way, and it's a creamy Bavarian wheat beer. It's a blonde. It's like a cloudy blonde, and it's pretty smooth. And it's a light 5.4 though. It's I'm used to the.
Yeah, Devil's Reach. I think.
Yeah.
I might after this. I might be I might be a little turnt playing some Diablo before I go to bed. Devil's Reach is 8.6%.
Wow.
Have 2 of those, you'll be ready,
very good beer.
ready to take them all on.
If you ever find yourself in South Jersey, Cape May Brewing is really worth going. I actually went there for the first time last summer, and it's a very nice space.
Gotta support that craft brewing.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so maybe we'll just get the history of Diablo 3 out of the way. It was originally released back on May 15th of 2012 for the PC.
Let's do some Nintendo things here. On May 15th, 2012, the Wii U was more like 6 months away from launch.
That's crazy.
Like, not even like, oh, it had just come out. Like, no, like, we hadn't even had the E3 before it came out. We didn't know what Nintendo Land was when Diablo 3 came out.
This is just kind of depressing.
I don't remember the Wii U launch at all. Like it just I remember a lot of console launches, especially Nintendo ones. I don't remember the Wii U launch at all. Like just no fanfare.
Yeah.
And I think if we're thinking of notable 3DS releases around this time, Kid Icarus Uprising would have come out about a month and a half before 2 months before this.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Kid Icarus Uprising was March 2012.
Yeah, because I remember I was living in Utica, and I remember getting Kid Icarus, but I also remember on May 14th going to Walmart at like 7 p.m. for the midnight launch because I wanted to get that collector's edition. I waited like 5 hours, and I asked them, I was like, you guys got the collector's edition, right? They're like, yeah. And midnight rolls around, and they didn't have, they're like, oh, wait, no, we don't have any. And I was so angry. And then luckily we went to the other Walmart and they did have one. And it was cool. It was funny because they had like the guy was like had a sheet of questions to ask, like related to like Diablo lore. And if you got them right, you like won like a little tchotchke or something. And I remember like I think I went like I missed one of them or 2 of the questions at the first place because they were sort of obscure. But then the second place, I was just like I just blew through the answers because I knew them all. And the guy's like, man, this guy knows his stuff. But I was so pissed. I was like, oh. But I did get it. So.
I just quickly looked up Wii games that came out in 2012. Xenoblade Chronicles finally came out on Wii a month before this game came out. A Nintendo game that came out shortly after this was the Pikmin 2 new Play Control version. Mario Party 9 came out about 2 months before. It's been a lot. I guess all I'm saying is that like Diablo 3 is a 6-year-old game, and that was a very long time ago.
I'd actually completely forgotten that after Diablo 3 released on PC, it came a year later in 2013 to PS3 and Xbox 360. I totally forgot about that. I thought it skipped those ones and went. I knew it came to PS4 and Xbox, but I thought it skipped that previous generation entirely. So yeah, you can play it almost anywhere now.
Yeah, so you guys were both there day one with Diablo 3?
Yep.
Yeah, so I also went to a midnight launch as well at Future Shop. They don't exist anymore. I think Best Buy bought them out. Same thing, picked up a collector's edition at midnight. I think there was definitely a lineup. I don't know how crazy it was. And I took the next day off work for sure. I was gonna play like 12 hours straight or some insane thing like that. But there were a lot of problems actually trying to play the game, right? In case you will remember this too. I think it was at error 37, or there's some, terrible online connection or server problems or whatever it was. So this error message kept popping up when everyone was trying to log in, and the internet was going nuts. Like no one could play this game, or so few people that could actually get online and play, and people were blowing up like the Blizzard message boards and stuff like that, and just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I probably end up staying up for a number of hours just clicking like, okay, try again, just keep trying to log into the game and play. And I don't even remember if it ended up working at some point in the night. I think it did. Maybe 4 or 5 hours after midnight or something like that. And I played for like an hour, and then we were so tired from just staying up doing nothing. A buddy of mine, we both kind of picked up at the same time. We were going to, run through most of the first half of the game, or as much as we could. But yeah, we ended up not playing very much at all just because of the that damned error message.
Yeah, I remember. And I should have known better because I'm a World of Warcraft player too. So it's like midnight launches, whenever they have them, are always a problem with everyone trying to log on. But I remember I bought like 2 20-ounce Red Bulls. I was like ready. I'm like, I am ready to take on Diablo 3 tonight, And then, all that you couldn't get on at all. I think I got on around like 5 in the morning, give or take.
Yeah.
And I
it was hours after launch. Like it was something insane.
And I played for, I think, like an hour or two. And then I had work at 10 in the morning. So then I remember laying down on the couch just like completely wired. And I was like, God, I wish I didn't drink those Red Bulls.
You had to wait. You had to drink them while you played. In retrospect,
yeah. Well, like I said, I guess it was. I should have known better. Blizzard sort of has.
We thought we would be playing, but yeah, Casey, you should have known. The funny thing was, and I don't know if we'd really been thinking about it at that time, but we'd been waiting almost a decade, if I'm not mistaken, for Diablo 3 to come out. Right? Diablo 1 and 2 were about 4 or 5 years apart.
2001, I think Diablo 2 came out. Maybe even 2000.
So yeah, it might have been 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, if memory serves me, I think I played, like, my dabbling with Diablo was I played some Diablo 2, I want to say in, like, 2002 or 2003.
Yeah, because...
I don't remember exactly if it was end of middle school or early high school that I played it. But it was somewhere in that round that, like... I think I'd gotten a copy from a friend and was like, oh, I'll bet some this is cool. But I never got super into it.
Yeah, June 29th, 2000. So from June 29th to September 4th was the longest, like, 3 months or whatever it was for me as a kid waiting for my birthday to get it. I remember I was like, I'd had dreams. I'd be like, oh, I just want to play it so bad.
And Diablo 2 had an expansion, like a sizable one that, like Diablo 3 ended up getting as well, that added a couple of character classes and a new act. Yeah. And, that kind of rejuvenated or revitalized the game. But, I mean, people were still clamoring for Diablo 3, and it was years and years, and I don't think we got a ton of news about it. I think, a lot of rumors, and, is it going to happen? Isn't it? And then when it finally got announced, or we knew it was coming, people were super excited, super jacked up about that game, because Diablo 2 was just huge.
I mean, Diablo 2 is got to be one of the best PC game ever. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's something about Blizzard games that just have this crazy longevity to them. People still play the original StarCraft, and then they came out with the remastered version, but StarCraft is what it's probably at least as old as Diablo 2 was, or around that age,
I think older. StarCraft.
Yeah, I think it is older too. Yeah.
Pretty sure that, because I remember playing like Brood War and stuff before Diablo 2.
Yeah, no, a ton of that stuff. I'm definitely playing that in let's say grade 11 or 12, so like 17 years ago or something like that. So, but again, people were playing that game for a long time. We were going to internet cafes and playing Diablo 2, playing StarCraft, and yeah, just something about games that Blizzard puts out. They just have tons of staying power. Like, fans of those games stick with them.
I mean, you could easily, I guess to move on though, but you could easily go onto Diablo 2 servers and still find people playing.
Yep,
yeah,
for sure.
Diablo 3 was first announced in 2008, but then it seemed to have bounced around for a while because I think it went through a lot of art style changes, and then finally was shown more in 2011 and got the 2012 release date. But yeah, like, I mean, it's... And there was other stuff with Diablo 3's launch that, like, was kind of poorly received because, there was all the people not being able to play, and then the auction, the real money auction house
God.
Yeah,
that they
a lot
were
of
trying to put in, were
controversy.
basically, like, and as far as I know, like, I mean, there's been tons of updates to the game that, like, I started kind of going down the rabbit hole of, like, what was this game in 2012?
Very
it's
different.
Completely different.
It's completely
than
different.
what's
yeah.
on the Switch right now. Like, there's, like, entire end games and alternate modes and more things to do, new classes. But the real money auction house was this whole thing where you would have gear and then you would sell it for real money, but it just never... It seemed to be very skeezy and not work.
You know what? It's because a lot of people in Diablo 2, like, you could just go on eBay and you'd be able to buy things. They used to do pretty much... I guess Diablo has a history of adding stuff because they added, like, rune words and whatnot into Diablo 2, which weren't in its original release, which is just, like, if you put a certain set of runes into a socketed item, it would, like, sort of create, like, a very special, unique item. And the runes essentially became currency. Like, oh, that's a high rune. Like, that's worth this, you know? So people would just buy and sell that. So I guess Blizzard was like, well, instead of people going through eBay and doing that, like, why don't we take a cut, you know? But then what that led to was, like, the drops were so poorly randomized. Like, you would get two-handed axes that were, like, high in intellect and, you know, like, it's like, well... No one's, you know, and high in intellect and strength, like, the strength requirement was crazy high, you know? So it's like, well, like, my wizard's never going to be able to use this because, you know, it's like, it was just stupid, you know what I mean? It really was a very different game, so they got rid of that, and then I felt like that sort of evened out the drops because it wasn't just like, oh, like, there's a million good items flooding the auction house, you know?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, the situation there with the Realm Reborn, right? Where a game launched, in a lot of ways it was broken or terrible, it didn't work in some way, you know, it wasn't as intended. And the same thing with Diablo 3, it almost was killed off and reborn in the ashes of this real money auction house, right? I think there were a lot of mea culpas from Blizzard, you know, where we're going to fix this, we're going to spend time in it, and, you know, kudos to them. They eventually got it to a place, you know, and in the meantime kind of ported it all over the place as well, but got it to, you know, a really polished, fun, you know, loot heavy, but it feels like a balanced game now, you know, you're not constantly thinking, oh, I'm never getting things for me. You are kind of always picking up some loot that's gonna help you or something that's gonna make you stronger. So yeah, even though the game is very, very different 6 years later, they've made changes, meaningful changes. What I mean, like it's a much better game, I think, since it came out.
And I don't know if we wanted to discuss the port was done by Iron Galaxy.
They did it in 9
I was
months.
going to say they're giving Panic Attack a run, or Panic Button, excuse me.
Yeah.
Panic Button, yeah.
I'm having a panic attack. A run for their money here because, I mean, I guess we'll get more into this, how it runs and stuff, but it's pretty amazing the job they did.
Yeah, they made one of the best fighting games of all time, Dive Kick.
Iron Galaxy did.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, did they do the port of Skyrim as well for Switch?
They did the port of Skyrim, and they've done a lot of other ports. Like they do have original games. I know they worked on the Killer Instinct, not the first, because the first season was that company that got bought by Amazon. But I know, like, the second 2 seasons of Killer Instinct, the reboot on Xbox One, was was done by Iron Galaxy, and it looks like I'm now looking at the Wikipedia. They ported Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy to PC. They've worked with Batman Arkham Knight, porting that, Borderlands, porting BioShock Infinite, Destiny to PS3 and 360. Like, so
big games.
They are veterans of porting games.
Mm-hmm.
I wish BioShock would come to the Switch. But that's another, cool. That's a whole
maybe
awesome.
Iron Galaxy can do it. And it's also like Iron Galaxy has a history of working on ports, bringing visually and kind of, I guess, like technically impressive games to systems that you think they might not run as well. Like the Borderlands 2 Vita port, if memory serves correctly, is very impressive. I think the Destiny PS3 and 360 ports for games that were super ambitious, like, they worked fine. And I mean, yeah, I can't speak to all of their ports. That Skyrim port was real good, and this Diablo 3 port.
Well, they're 2 for 2 on the Switch.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Diablo 3 port might be the most impressive port that I've seen on Switch.
Yeah, I wanted to say something in my review, just about the port and make some comparisons to other versions. I think that would be a fruitful discussion or comparison to be made. But yeah, you can't even tell it's a port. Like, it plays as if it was developed just for the Switch. It feels so good to control and to move and seeing things, and there's no hiccups. Everything is seamless. It's just amazing. It does feel natural, or it feels like it belongs on the Switch. I know we say that all the time, but it really does feel great to play.
No, but I mean, like, the stuff with the idea of it's feeling like it was made for the Switch and it's not just a port, like, I think that's something that rings true, because I mean, like, if we look at all the games that have come to Switch, like, sometimes you'll be playing a game that you knew was ported and you'll be like, there was a hitch there, like,
yeah,
they probably had some trouble, like, getting Unreal Engine to work or something.
Yeah, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
And, like, yeah, and I mean, like, in a review, I would probably call it out if it's recurring as a problem. But when I'm playing a game, like, if I see a little issue, it's probably not going to drag me down unless it's really affecting my time with the game. And with Diablo 3, like, the worst I saw was, like, sometimes when I'd load into an area, there might be a slight hiccup. Like, that was it, and that wasn't even regular. That was very rare. Like, it's just so smooth, especially the 4 of us playing online. Like, it's probably the smoothest I've seen an online game run on Switch.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. Like, I haven't played a ton of, like, 4-player multiplayer, but considering how much is happening on the screen, how many characters, enemies and the various minions that we're summoning, like, there's so much happening. The screen is so filled with activity and action, and there's no stutter at all. Everything is just running like butter. It really is amazing.
Especially when you consider all of the spell animations, and there are a lot of, like, I think it must have been the Witch Doctor, like, spewing that green vial all over the screen.
That was me.
Yeah, and it's just like, boom,
And the Necromancer with all of the minions that were following them. And the other thing that I was surprised at was how easy it is to get into games. Like, it's got to be one of the easiest ways just to connect to friends. Yeah, like, it's just boom, 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 you're in. Like, it's...
Like, there's some loading, but, like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as...
There's no sending invites. There's no, like, waiting for party to form and, making a connection stuff. There's none of that. It just happens almost instantaneously. Like a little bit of loading, but there's the same loading even when you're playing single player. Mm-hmm. I didn't really notice any more loading because we were playing online.
Well, and they did a good job on the balancing, too, because for the video that we have on YouTube now, there was a huge range between the levels. Like, I think Neil was level 40, Casey and I were level 25, and Jordan was level 7. And
yeah, I started that session at level 5. I think it ended at like 20 something.
He was getting carried,
which was awesome.
He was getting rushed.
Yeah, I remember we started fighting enemies, and you jumped like 3 levels in a minute.
Yeah, the flash of lightning when you gained level just kept happening over and over again. It was insane.
In Diablo 2, you used to have to pay so much to get that treatment.
Yeah, it's true.
And it wasn't like you were, because I know, like, being at the lowest level, you could think that maybe you were not, like, you're just dying like every few seconds while you're just kind of feeding off the higher level people, but like you were in every battle, like so.
Yeah, what happened was when I logged in, or when I joined the game, I got a message on the screen, something about the game was recognizing that I was significantly lower in level and equipment and stuff like that compared to you guys. So there was going to be some kind of either stat boost or the game was going to compensate or scale me up so that I could play with you guys. And I don't think I was doing as much damage as you, but I certainly wasn't dying. Like I was probably taking a similar amount of damage that you guys were taking, and I could still contribute to the game as I leveled up and got better equipment as we were playing. So the game has a very clever and subtle way of allowing anyone, at any difficulty or any level or range of equipment you can still play with all your buddies. So that's really cool too.
And I think that's going to be very important too, because it really is set up to be a multiplayer experience. Mm-hmm. And you can gain levels so quickly. You could easily be ahead of different friends, or even if you're trying out new classes, like going in with a different class, maybe you haven't built it up enough and a friend is using a higher class, like being able to just connect and all kind of be on the same plateau to a certain extent. I think was really important detail that they got right. Feeling.
Because it encourages to just, like you said, like, oh, I'm not going to start a new character because then I won't be able to play with my friends. Just to and especially since the character diversity, I mean, like, more or less playing the, it's like, oh, I'm just hitting buttons, but like the classes all play so differently. And then what's super rewarding is how you're just consistently unlocking new abilities, and then once you unlock those abilities, you unlock runes which alter them in some sort of fashion. So it's just like there's a ton of customization with leveling up and how you actually play each individual character. So it's nice that you can just jump in with a new character even if it's 10, 20 levels lower. Also on top of like the whole the fact that it doesn't feel like a port is, and especially coming from the PC side of things, is how well the controls work with like a standard like gaming controller. I've always played Diablo. I guess I played a very tiny little bit of the first Diablo on PlayStation 1, but I've always played with a keyboard and mouse. So to like have the controller was a little weird at first, but it all clicked so quickly, and it was like it just all made sense, especially with like the menuing system and like switching your skills and stuff. It just all feels really good.
Speaking of controls, I wanted to ask if you guys tried moving your skills to different buttons. Did you? I know that option unlocks at some point, or the game tells you about it at some point. So maybe when you gain enough skills to do that. But did anyone try that?
Yes. Well, what I wound up doing is, because I forget the name. Like, there's like offensive, defensive. Like you basically have them all in different categories initially, and then I realized that there was like a buff spells that I didn't really use that often in battle. Mm-hmm. It probably helped me, but I'm usually I don't really care about like, oh, my intelligence is going to be higher. I'm like, no, let's burn them down. So I realized that I could kind of put whatever I wanted. You could, in theory, like take all of the abilities from like the like where you have like 4 offensive things in like a set. You could just have those be all your attacks. So I have in like one area of the Witch Doctor, there is the zombie dogs and the toad that can eat people. And now I have both of those, even though they are in the same category of skills.
I guess one thing I was concerned about was that maybe if you put let's say all of one category, you took all 4 or 5 of those abilities. My concern was that maybe you'd run out of mana or whatever your magic power kind of resource is. So that's why I never did it. I found a good balance having kind of one of each category of the skills, because I would lay a curse on the ground, and then I wouldn't have to really worry. I wouldn't have to recast it. It would just sit there, and then I'd do my standard summoning. I'd be using my basic attack, and I think it is kind of balanced out so that every button on the controller and being assigned to a different type of ability, you're maybe using them in a good sequence, or the cooldown, you're able to manage cooldowns well, kind of keeping them all assigned as they are. And one of the reasons I kind of neglected it was you actually have to go into the options mode. It's not even in your kind of standard equipment or ability menu. You have to go into the options mode, I believe. Neil, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, and turn on elective mode. Is it something like that? Is that right?
I just unlocked that at a certain point.
Yeah, I did it too. There's nothing. It's you just move to the right, and they just pop up.
Okay. Because I guess that there is an option in the kind of game in the game menu where you can turn that off or on. So you don't have to have that ability to move your skills around. I don't know why you would turn that off, but yeah, it's kind of a funny thing I noticed.
Yeah. But I like that ability to do that. And also, to your mana point, I just had some passive skills that would have, like, when I'd use one of my abilities, it would just regenerate mana. It's so great.
Well,
oh
I
my
feel
God.
like with the
so
sort of base set they set you up with, it always keeps you sort of in the green as far as your resources go, and like there's not too much cooldown where you got to spam one or another. But I do like that it's still there to be able to play with, and again, it just opens up the customization and gives you, lets you play your character how you want to play it, And I mean, that's always been a big thing in Diablo is like how am I going to plan my character? Like, what am I what do I want this character to do? And in Diablo 2, you had to decide right away, because there was no going back. So it's nice that here it's just, as long as you're pretty much not in combat, and I think you can't change it if it's on a cooldown. So some of the skills have longer cooldowns, but nothing too crazy long. So it's, you could literally fight a pack, bounce back out first, like just walk 5 steps back and then change up every single skill and then go take the next pack on, So it's nice to be able to do that. And it's funny for me, like coming from Diablo 2, like I think if you ask a lot of people who played Diablo 2, they would say Diablo 3 was a big letdown. I mean, especially early on with the auction house crap. But like even like now they would be like, it's no Diablo 2. And, I was always in that camp. Like, I really like Diablo 3 a lot, But, like, it was always like, oh, it's not Diablo 2. But I think now that I sort of... I'm not 12, 13, 14 years old anymore where I have all day to play games, So I think I'm appreciating Diablo 3 more now than I've ever have before because it respects your time. And to be able to do things that would take you tens of 20, 30 hours to do in Diablo 2, you could do on a fly here, Like, you don't need to have 4 paladins if you want to have 4 different ways to play. You just have one character, and you could switch them up,
Yeah, like, that's such a brilliant thing to do, because you can you're encouraged to experiment at all times, and I love that. Like, that's fun.
Yeah, no, and
you're never locked into your abilities, right? You're not assigning skill points. You're not choosing, which if you want to raise your strength or your vitality. You don't even make those decisions anymore. As you level up, those go up.
Scales.
When you pass level 70 and you start gaining Paragon levels, you assign like very, very tiny skill or ability, stat bumps, but they're almost negligible. It's really, and you, like you said, Casey, you can change your abilities at any time, and you change the runes associated with them at any time. There's no like, pain of, I hate this ability, and I've put so much, I've put points into it that I'll never get back. There's no regret, right? Yeah, you don't feel compelled to start over or something like that, or have to meticulously plan like you did in Diablo 2.
And it's just so funny that, like, at one point I was like, that to me was a con. That's why Diablo 3 wasn't as good, And like I said, now I think just where I am in my life with, just responsibilities and whatnot, it is just so nice to be able to... It's so much... Like I said, it respects your time, and lets you get in there. You could play for 10 minutes and feel like you had a good time and you made a little progress, and... it's just fun to mess around with everything it's got in there. And like I said, it does have a lot. And, you can level up pretty quickly, especially when, you can change the difficulty before you get into a match or into a game. And, you get extra bonus for certain things. And even within the game, when, you killed 20 enemies in a row, you get double experience for that, you know? And they give fun little, you know, stat or fun little experience bonuses throughout the game for just doing, oh, you destroyed a bunch of things, you know, like you get a little more experience for that.
You used the trap well.
Yeah, it just, like I said, it's just fun, you know? Like, it's dumb fun and you get rewarded for doing dumb fun things.
But it's complex enough that you could, if you wanted, like if you do spend a lot of time playing, you could spend just even like hours just optimizing your character with just even the equipment, because there's so much equipment and you can change it in so many ways. And then it's the same with the skills where like certain equipment will regenerate the mana, or like I was the demon hunter, so I had hatred and discipline, and so like certain crossbows would regenerate it quicker, and then other defensive equipment would regenerate health and stuff. So just going through all of that, and there's so much equipment that's picked up along the way. I had like multiple times where I couldn't even pick up equipment anymore because I had maxed out what I was holding.
Yep.
So you can just spend tons of time heading back into, like, if you're in Act 1, like Tristram, and selling off or salvaging equipment and then getting new equipment. Like, you could spend tons of hours just doing stuff like that if that was, you know, what you enjoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what the post game is, right? The post game of Diablo 3 is all about that kind of optimization and spending time, like, crafting items and doing runs to get specific parts so that you can get just a little bit better. I mean, that's what the end game is all about, right? After you've finished the story, after you're diving into adventure mode and you're thinking, okay, you know, what do I do now? It's these kind of incremental upgrades to your equipment and your character. That's what you, if you are, you know, want to take a deep dive into the game, that's what you're going to be doing,
just
right?
Getting that DPS up, man.
Well,
right.
And a note on the story, when our first play, the first time I played, it was with the four of us together in multiplayer. Casey knew what was going on, so he was just going from quest to quest to quest. The cutscenes were being skipped, and the discussions between the characters were being skipped, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, but we're killing lots of demons.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, we were having fun, right? Like it was so fun. We didn't want to stop for a second to see the story. It didn't matter.
It's funny to go back in, like, so after that I went back in on my own and started playing through the actual story, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss much.
Yeah. I don't think the story's bad. I just think that it's not why I'm playing the game.
Well, yeah, I think, well, first off, I think if you do want to play the story, I would definitely play it single player one time through to get the story bits. Or, like, you know, if you have one other person and you're both sort of on the same page, like, hey, we want to, you know, see what the story's all about. You know, but yeah, when you're playing 4 players, it's like, all right, let's just rock and roll here. For me, the story, I like the story a lot. I think a lot of it comes from knowing the events that have taken place earlier in the franchise. Like, you know, to you guys, Deckard Cain is just some old guy, you know, like, oh, okay, like, whatever, you know. But, like, I've spent hundreds of hours, you know, where Deckard Cain was, like, a big part of, you know, a game that I've played, you know. And, like, having seen, like, the characters, you know, from the other games up to this, and, you know, I don't know how much spoilers we really want to get into, you know, we're not, I mean, it's a pretty old game. But, like,
it's a 6-year-old game, and it happens at the very beginning.
Yeah,
so
well,
I think you're okay.
Well, I was going to talk about the stranger, you know, who the fallen star, you know, and like,
oh yeah,
like I don't know if that cutscene at the end like meant much to you guys, having not played the other ones, but like to me, like that is still one of my favorite cutscenes of all time, because it's like, oh my god, you know, like how amazing, like maybe that. I don't know if that resonated with Jordan as much as it did with me, but it was like, to me, that was like the most badass cutscene ever, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I just, like, again, when I first played Diablo 3, I was probably skipping all the cutscenes. We were just trying to get through the game as fast as we could because we were so starved by that poor launch, or that, you know, not being able to play at midnight. When we finally got to playing, there was no story at all. There was no story. There was no cutscenes. It was just go, go, go. You know, make the most of this day off that we have, or this weekend off that we have, something like that. Speaking of story and cutscenes and stuff like that, I do wish that either that, you know, this Switch version or any of the versions of Diablo 3 had some kind of recap video or something that you could watch or read to kind of catch you up on the story. I wish they had something like that. I think in the press materials or some of the advertising for Diablo 3 on Switch, they're kind of directing you towards this Diablo website that will do that kind of catching up for you. But it would be nice if it were built into the game somehow, because I think that if you have been following the story, it actually is a pretty fun and interesting story. Like, and to see the kind of culmination of it in Diablo 3 is satisfying if you've been paying attention, or if you've played the previous game. So it is a little bit of a missed opportunity for them to not kind of bring it up or bring the previous game's stories to the forefront.
Well, there's something close to it, and so when we were playing, we got about halfway through Act 1 on my own. I just continued the story I got pretty close to the end of Act 1, and then we decided to film a second multiplayer experience. And you guys were already on Act 2, so that's where we were playing. It actually completely messed up what I was doing, because I was no longer in Act 1. Like, when I disconnected from everyone, when I tried to go back into my story, the story was basically, okay, where we left off is where I am now. So I was automatically in Act 2. And I did discover it took some finding, and I can't even tell you off the top of my head how I found it. But there is a spot in the menu where you can actually choose so I could go back to Act 1, and I could choose where I wanted to start the story again.
Yeah, I think that's under quests or something when you're in the main menu, or like before you get into the game, yeah.
Yeah, so if you wanted to go back, I mean, you have to do the battling and stuff, but it at least puts you back at the point in the story if you wanted to relive it. Now, the one issue I had with it is that, so I had one node left for Act 1, so I was in the second last node. But the problem is that you have to get through about 4 dungeons to get to that final boss, and I was already through 3 when I went to the Act 2. And now trying to go back, I'm at the very beginning again. I have to go through all the dungeons again. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know if
Well, I was going to say, welcome to Diablo 3 post-game.
Yeah, I've got news for you, David. It doesn't get any better than that. That's what you're going to be doing if you keep playing Diablo.
Yeah, because essentially you get to the point where it's like, I'm looking for loot, So there's a few parts in the game, and I don't know as much in Diablo 3, where the hot spot to go now is. But like in Diablo 2, I could bail runs. It'd just be like, okay, you're going to go to this one waypoint, you're going to just get to the final boss, and you're just going to kill him, and you're going to rinse and repeat. And we would literally do that for hours on end. And, it was like a 15-minute task, to get to that point and finish the boss. And you just do it over and over and over because he had the best chance to drop, a good item, or the Mephisto run, It's like, okay, you go there and you just run that same area over and over again. I know they've introduced rifts and stuff in this game, which I think help to, like, break up the, so you're not literally doing the same exact thing over and over again. But yeah, it essentially you're going to just be doing similar stuff looking for better items.
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit, Casey, because I did dabble with the adventure mode is where you find the bounties and Nephilim rifts. So bounties are kind of individual side quest type missions in each of the 5 acts, and they're randomized. So when you go in, you start up a new adventure mode, you select your difficulty, all that stuff. You'll get 5 bounties in each of the 5 acts, so 25 bounties in total. When you complete each bounty, you get some loot. When you complete all 5 bounties in a single act, you talk to Tyrael in the whatever the town is for that act, and he'll give you like a special, I think it's called Herodric chest or something like that. And there's a bunch of there's some items, but it's mostly recipes for legendary items or recipes for set items. So that's kind of a big part of the post game, is getting those recipes, building those items, and or at least figuring out what kind of sets you want to build and stuff like that. But Casey, in terms of the grinding, it's the Nephilim rifts. It sounds like I was doing some reading and kind of trying those out. You play the regular Nephilim rift. And hopefully at the end, I think if you do it fast enough and you're lucky, you beat the Guardian of the Nephilim Rift, and then you get a special, some kind of special token or item that lets you do a Greater Rift. and it's in the greater rift where the best possible loot can be found. And there's something about how fast you're beating these rifts, how deep into the rifts you're going, maybe in terms of how many floors down or what difficulty level you're playing it at, something like that. But yeah, the post-game is all about getting these recipes, doing the rifts, and the rifts they're randomized. So they could be any dungeon, it could be any color scheme, or there might be different smoke and different enemies, like all different types of enemies can pop up. So it
keeps
is,
it more
it is
fresh,
nice. You're
yeah.
not. It does, yeah, because you're not fighting Mephisto, 100 times or Diablo 100 times. You're always fighting different minions in a different area, and then a different boss opens up at the end. So there is more. It still feels kind of grindy, and a little bit repetitive, but it is a little bit more fresh than
I would say
Diablo 2 was. Certainly,
it wouldn't be a Diablo game if there wasn't some healthy dose of grinding involved. So.
No, I mean, yeah, that's a big part of the formula, right? I mean, it's just they've found a way to make it a little bit more fun, a little bit fresher. And one of the cool things in adventure mode, and it's in the base game as well, or the campaign mode, but to kind of make the grinding a little bit more palatable or fun, is that there's a lot of achievements you can unlock. So there's achievements for your character, just your character for your account, but then there's the seasonal achievements, right? The seasonal achievements and leaderboards. And I think the seasons actually is a really great idea. Like, if you want to hop back into Diablo at any time, like maybe next year we all want to play again for a month or something like that. And we hop in, and it's a new season, and we've got a new set of achievements. We can roll new characters, but it's this way of kind of getting you to keep playing or keep coming back to the game. And Fortnite has seasons now. I don't know if PUBG does, but this idea of seasonal play in these multiplayer games to get you to keep coming back. Like, League of Legends does this. A lot of these big online games have devised or come up with this seasonal play to get players to come back or to encourage new players to start again and something like that. So yeah, there definitely is a lot more to the post game in Diablo 3 than in Diablo 2 for sure.
Maybe while we're talking about loot, Neil can tell us about how the Ganondorf armor works.
Yeah, so go into your stash when you start the game, and you have all the Zelda stuff just right there to begin
chilling.
with. Yeah, like you can do there, but there's the Triforce like picture frame for like your profile. There's the Kuko pet that just kind of follows you around, picks up gold for you, very kindly bird. And then there's the Amiibo portal, which so I think I guess before getting to Ganondorf, the Amiibo portal, so you put in the game and you scan an Amiibo, and every time I've done it, I just have like a bunch of hard enemies spawn, and then I get good loot. Has anybody gotten anything different?
I haven't even tried any of the Amiibo yet, to be honest. Does it work with any random Amiibo?
It seems like it. Like, I just happen to have like an Isabelle Amiibo and my Yarn Yoshi Amiibo nearby. So those are the two that I've used
two cutest
so
and
far.
cuddliest of the Amiibo?
Yeah.
Yeah, the two opposite from the themes of Diablo 3.
And then I put them in and they just spawn hell. But like it's cool because like as far as, once again, you guys talking about the grind, like there's another way to introduce a variant on the grind of here's, scan an Amiibo and you could get a legendary item from that.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. I tried a couple. I tried Ganondorf, and I tried a Mario one. I think it's one of the 8-bit anniversary ones. And yeah, if you try it in a town, it opens up a portal, but nothing can happen because you're in a town. So if you go to anywhere else on the map where enemies would normally spawn, it opens up a little portal. And then, yeah, some high-powered group of enemies pop up, and usually yielding pretty good loot if you beat them. The kind of frustrating thing or annoying thing is that I think it's 22 hours. There's a 22-hour cooldown on using Amiibo. And considering how simple or how basic the functionality, I think it's a really long cooldown. Like, if you're just summoning one group of monsters, which you can find just playing the game pretty regularly, it seems an odd restriction to have. Like maybe an hour or something like that, but 22 hours for such a simple thing is a little weird to me.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I mean, when the game actually launches on Friday around November 2nd, maybe they'll talk more about amiibo functionality, or maybe there's certain amiibo that do certain things. I don't know. But
yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it seems like that's something that, like, because once again, we mentioned it earlier, that even when, I believe when Diablo 3 was announced for Switch, somebody asked about amiibo, and they're kind of like, oh, we're not talking about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that does lend credence to the fact, like, maybe there is going to be a Diablo amiibo coming out. Although, like, why wouldn't you advertise that before the game comes out?
Especially when it's coming out so soon.
Yeah, like I don't know. It seems like that might be the thing where maybe they have some sort of announcement for that. But I don't know anything for sure. I don't think my hopes are super high for that.
Yeah.
But the Ganondorf stuff. So you have the transmog armor, which, I mean, as someone who, this is all pretty much new to me. So you can go and, depending on your class, you can like make your weapons and armor look like something it's not. You can transmogrify it. So Ganondorf is one that works across every class. My rookie mistake, that unless you just want to burn in-game cash, I don't recommend doing, is once I realized about like, I could get the Ganondorf armor, I spent all of my money to transmogrify my, like end of Act 1 gear into Ganondorf, which was a big mistake because then I got better ones pretty shortly after that. But like, some of the transmogrify stuff is like, it's like 500. I believe that the Ganondorf stuff is like 50,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, pretty penny.
It's very really expensive. It's definitely the kind of thing that when you get to the end game and like you have an armor set you're gonna rock for a while, that's when you break that out. But I mean, it's neat that it's there. I kind of wish there was more like fun Nintendo stuff in that game. Like, it would have been cooler if there was like just like, I mean, maybe more Zelda stuff. I mean, that seemed to be what they were going for. Like give me a Master Sword transmog. Give me some green tunics. Maybe a Majora's Mask would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
and maybe that is
for the
something.
Witch Doctor, that'd be awesome.
I was gonna say, actually, online I see it must be a mock-up of the green Link tunic with like the Ocarina shield, Hylian shield.
Yeah, I believe that was something that they tested, that was shown at the, because I remember seeing that when it was first announced.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool, but apparently that was just a test, and like it was in that build, but people weren't supposed to show it. They did anyway. But like, I want to see more stuff like that.
A bonus at BlizzCon if they're going to bring it up. Like, hey, we've got some more fun little goodies.
Yeah. And like that's the thing is, I don't know. Well, you guys played Diablo 3. Was there any kind of like costume DLC that came out, or was it all just like kind of they'd have big packs and stuff? Like Reaper of Souls.
Yeah, I mean, I know when
Reaper
came out, there was like more armor sets and stuff, but I don't think so. But I could be wrong. Like I said, it's like I played a good amount when it first came out, and then I sort of fell to the wayside. And then like I dove back in a few, like for Reaper, and then they had was it Rise of the Necromancer, or
yeah, that's the name.
I got back in a little bit then. But I've been on and off with Diablo 3, and not nearly as much as the first two games. But yeah, so I don't know exactly like in terms of content packs that sort of came out periodically. Like maybe during some of the seasons they might have had some sort of seasonal armor sets, maybe.
Yeah, I could see something like that, especially considering, like Casey, we were talking about earlier, the inclusion of the Diablo 1 content that seemingly isn't there anymore. There's clearly, evidence of maybe temporary things happening, or, small, cosmetic or small areas being added to the game. So, yeah, maybe in the future we'll get more Zelda stuff or more Nintendo stuff. But yeah, it does seem like the Zelda themed items are very very minor and not very consequential. It might have been nice if there were more, like maybe you open a treasure and there's Zelda sound effects, or the Ganondorf armor that you put on it. Maybe it changes the sounds, or there's certain the attacks look different or something like that. But it's purely cosmetic, right? There's nothing really to it,
What we're gonna have to get you boys into the secret level, the secret what are they, the Whimsy Shire or something? I don't know, the pony level.
Yeah, it's something like that. I keep seeing the message. There's no cow level. There's no cow level, but there isn't. But there's something else like it.
So
right?
Yeah, in Diablo 2 there was the secret cow level, which you did a couple things, and you go to this one area, and there's just hundreds, probably thousands of cows with huge axes.
Yeah.
And they're all like moo, 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 and like you hear all these cows,
right.
and it's just it's so stupid, but it's like a really good source of experience and items, and then there's the Cow King. Yeah. But so in Diablo 3 there's something similar. It's not the cow level, but it's like for the most part, like I don't want to say Diablo 3 is super dark and gritty because it sort of has a cartoony-ish look, but the themes are essentially dark and where this is like the complete opposite. Like there's rainbows with clouds and smiley faces, and ponies that attack you, and like presents and stuff. You can Google it if you want to see it. But like again, it's like I think after you beat the game, you go through like a set of like finding certain items and like combining them, and then you unlock the not secret cow level, or the not the cow. I don't know what they call it exactly.
Yeah, that's a neat thing about the game, too, is that there are a lot of secret areas and secret quests and NPCs and things that you can find after that are really, maybe off the beaten path, or you won't necessarily find them unless you're really looking or kind of exploring every nook and cranny. So there are a lot of little secret things to the game that, devoted players will be able to find. I picked up, maybe one or two of those items, kind of after I finished the game, and I'd like to go back in and open up more of those secret areas. It seems like a really neat thing for people who are willing to spend more time with it.
Terrific. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts as we wrap up the review episode of Diablo 3?
Maybe just that last point, David, in the notes about playing the game alone or playing it with friends. I kind of noted in my review that I ran through most of the game. The four of us played a couple times, made a little bit of progress in the story, but I ran through most of the game by myself. And I found playing through the story mode solo was, it's fun. It's really entertaining. The gameplay is just, I can't say anything bad about it. Like you forget the story because the gameplay is so good. But when you get to the post game, because it's a little bit more repetitive and you're kind of playing similar areas and you have similar goals, I feel like the post game is really a place where you want to be playing with other people, especially if you can do it playing with friends, because I think that would help make it a little bit more fun as well, or at least liven it up, make it more fresh if you're playing with other people who have the same goals as you. If you're running the rifts over and over again, or doing bounties, it seems like the kind of thing where you want to be chatting with buddies while you're doing that, and kind of the game is almost secondary to the conversation or the camaraderie that's happening there. So yeah, it's interesting. I think the post game, or the after you've put in 15 or 20 hours, that the game really not demands or requires, but it really benefits even more from playing multiplayer.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, maybe the first time around play, or like I said, I think you at least owe it to yourself to play through and get the story. I mean, whether you do that with friends or you do it alone, I mean, I think the best way is to get the story is to sort of be able to go at your own pace alone, and you could sort of learn the character, and it's nice to be able to stop, like, oh, I unlocked a new skill, let me go see exactly what that does. Where when, like last night when we were playing, it's like, oh, I leveled up like 4 or 5 times, but we were all just rolling, so I didn't even really get to check any of those new skills I unlocked. So, like, that's why I think doing it the first time is sort of beneficial, solo, especially the story. If you don't really care about the story at all, then, of course, with friends or like you said, even random people is going to be more fun. Jumping on Skype, or like I said, we were discussing beforehand, we believe it'll be using the Nintendo Switch app once it launches. Yeah,
it is.
Whether you go through there, it's definitely a good game to be able to sit back and like BS with your friends while playing. It's also, honestly, especially it'll work well with handheld. Put a movie on. You got the football game in the background. It's like it's a really good game if you're not paying attention to the story, or you've already played through the story and you're just going in there and having fun. It's a good game to be able to multitask with.
I'm pretty taken by this game, and as I kind of said earlier, I hope that I'll have enough time to get through all 5 acts and beat the story, and I could totally see myself running through it with a different character or a different class. How long do the seasons run?
3 months, 3 months, give or take. Sometimes a little bit more than that, but yeah.
Okay.
So this season 15 will end kind of just about end of December this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of perfect. Yeah, because I'll probably keep on going with my witch doctor, and then figure out a class to play with the next season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, again, the seasons, they lend themselves really well because your seasonal character will become a normal character at the end of the season. So your witch doctor, who you started as a seasonal character, will transition to a normal character. Of course. And then in the next season 16, I guess, we'll see if there's any new gameplay elements or, DLC that they've added to the game. But, just run through a new character, sure.
Yeah. I'm... Like, it's a game that's probably going to fade into the background because there's a bajillion games coming out on Switch every week.
Yeah,
and
that's
trying
right.
to stay on top of reviews. But I think it's a game that will lend itself to being like, I'm just going to hop in and play a little bit. Because there's like a beautiful mindlessness to playing this game where like you kind of like, I'm going to go through and tap these buttons and rain hell, and like do some very light exploration and then just raise hell.
If you're the type of person, if you're the type of person who doesn't buy a lot of games every year, and maybe around the holidays the budget's a little bit thin or something like that, this is the kind of game where you can download it, you can buy it, and you can be playing this game for years and years, right? There's just so much, you can get so much value out of this game because of the way they've tailored the post game and the seasonal play and all the different characters and the way you can play each character different, right? You can play a necromancer or a witch doctor completely, maybe 10 or 12 different ways based on your build and your loadouts, So there's just so much. Even though it can be repetitive, there's so much freedom to the game to experiment and try new things and to do different things that. Yeah, it's totally like a desert island type game. You can keep coming back to it.
Cool. And so we have lots of coverage on the site. So we'll have Jordan's review up at NintendoWorldReport.com. Neil will also have a second opinion as well to go along with that. We have the video review at NWRTV, as well as the multiplayer experience that we have. It's up there as well. No commentary if you just like to watch, and
if you're a voyeur.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to get more information on it, we've got plenty of stuff up on the site. So have at her, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can email me at david@thethirstymage.com. You can hit us up on Twitter, send us pics of your character, whatever you want to do. We're happy to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be playing quite a bit as well in the coming days, especially around launch, so keep an eye out if you want to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess hit up David, and then maybe... Yeah, I mean, it is the kind of thing, if we have enough people that want to play online, like, I'm totally up for getting together with the community and slaying some mofos.
And yeah, the way it works with popping in and out, too, if, like, someone could play for a half hour, jumps out, someone else fills the hole, it's... just keep on going.
It's easy peasy.
Yeah, it seems like as I talk to people that I know, both in real life and on the internet, a lot of people seem like they're going to get this game, and I think it might be a very fun, vibrant multiplayer experience on Switch.
Alright, well, I want to thank everyone for listening to our review episode of Diablo 3. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. But otherwise, we'll see everyone on the next Thirsty Mage.
Adios.
Bye.
Get ready for some Dark Souls.
Good night. Yep, that's right.
Later.